And I think if you're productive, the cons of that, there's no off switch. Because when there is a time when you're sitting down and resting, you're like, I should be doing something else. I should be hustling. I should be, and it's just like, that doesn't turn off ever in my head.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. We are excited to talk to you guys about our week, what's been going on, and we have a few other just things we're going to dive into today. But anyways, how you feeling today, Justin? Zachman?
I feel like trash today, actually.
Let's be honest with everybody.
I'm honestly, so, I mean, it's just been a crazy week or so, just kind of tired and stuff, but like, I think I have a dairy issue at this point.
Well, we're edit everything out that we said at the beginning of this, but we were recording like a conversation of us like, hey, this is the plan this week. Let's try some things out to help you out, because I think you might have a little intolerance with dairy.
Unfortunately, I think it's not a thing where it's like I can't have any dairy, but I think I just need to like limit my dairy intake, which is good because on our weekend of life that just came out at the very end, I went to the gym and I was kind of sharing that we're probably going to talk a little bit about like fitness goals today. And so I'll just get right in there. I think one of my fitness goals, or my health goals, I should say, is just trying to figure out what food is making me not feel good. Mm-hmm. Because there's something. Yeah. It's not everything. It's not all dairy. I think it is in the dairy family. Yeah. But there's something that's just making me not do well.
Right. And we went through this season before with me actually a couple years ago, and mine was like, I was always having stomach issues. Like sometimes I was throwing up, and then I was getting to the point where like I just felt full all the time and my throat felt like swollen, like it was seeping into other things. And then I was getting headaches. When I first got tested, they told me I actually had celiac. So we went extreme, like took everything out of our house.
Yep.
That was gluten.
No, okay. So it was Friday. They said you had celiac on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. So Saturday, we emptied out the entire pantry, got through everything. We went to the grocery store, got all gluten-free stuff. And then Monday, they call you and they're like, hey, actually, you don't have celiac disease. We're like, thank you.
Right.
We just emptied out everything.
But they're like, but you do have, a pretty intense, severe, like, intolerance of it.
So it was good. So, I mean, it was good that we kind of went gluten-free.
Yeah. And I needed to do that in a sense to, like, just get it out of my system for a while. And then they said to slowly, like, incorporate it back in and see how you do, which I found a pretty good balance now. And I've found some things that work for me. And it's been, like, night and day with my health. Like, it's been crazy. And there's times where I'm like, I don't care. I know this is going to hurt my stomach, and I'll eat things. Like, I know what they are. Cookies is one of them. Like the good cookies. You do not do good cookies. Oh, man. Like, like Crumble and all those. Yeah. I cannot do them. I will get so sick.
Yeah. So I mean, we've explained this before, like in like vlogs and stuff, but she has like a bucket is how we illustrate it. Yeah. And there's only, the bucket can get full. So, there is like a little like leak at the bottom of the bucket, which is great, but it's a slow leak. And so you have to like fill up just enough and then just let it kind of, the water go down, and then you can fill it up again. And that's been fine. And it's worked great. But,
and I was at a point where it was overloading, and she was like, it's seeping into so many different areas of my health. We couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, I was just like, I was so week.
I think it was after one of our cruises. Well, it was after you ate Palo.
One of Palo. I got really sick there.
Really sick after Palo. And you're in the bathroom. And like, you all right? And you're like, I don't know. I just can't eat.
Yeah. And then I don't appetite. Never had an appetite. And it was actually kind of scary because, I mean, don't Google symptoms ever, but I did. And I was like, I've got cancer. I know I do, because they say like you have suppressed appetite, and like I was really weak. And so
all roads lead to cancer on Google.
We went through quite a journey of my health until we figured out what it was. So I'm like, well, now, Justin, I think it is your turn, because
well, it's not gluten. I know I can have gluten. But it is in the dairy.
I think it's
family.
Just in the dairy. But we're gonna kind of do some things and help.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you're in your 30s.
Jeez. Well,
our bodies are not what they were.
You wake up one day and you just feel like trash. Like, what the heck happened? Like, I was fine yesterday, but yesterday we were watching the game. We had some buffalo wings, some mac and cheese.
Oh, that healthy food.
It was just not good. But I think it was probably the cheesy mac and cheese.
Yeah.
And then this morning I had my cottage cheese and eggs.
Yes.
And after I had cottage cheese and eggs, I just like, I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah. So I'm like, I think honestly,
because of all that all that dairy,
too much.
I don't know, but Anyway, well, it's funny because I woke up feeling okay. My stomach was still kind of hurting. I went to the gym and I felt a lot better running. And then, I didn't, and then until like a couple hours later, I had breakfast, and that's when it really hit me again. So I don't know. So kind of fitness goals is this week is just like, going back to just like the basics, I guess, and just and just eat a lot cleaner. And it has been kind of a crazy. If I look at this last week though, because of everything that we talked about in our vlog, I think I just wasn't eating the best because everything was just like so fast. Yeah. And I had to get like, fast food or a bite here or whatever. And so, we had like pizza as well on Saturday, and it was just like, it just seemed like there was just a lot of more trashier foods than usual. So I'm like, I just need to get back to basics, eat clean. And I just realized how much I enjoy running. And I know I've enjoyed running a ton. I mentioned that, and you see me in vlogs all the time running. But I realized, like...
a little too much, according to some people.
Yeah. We got a comment. Someone said, like... it was
I
like,
could do without all the exercise montages or something. It was laughing so hard.
It's my life. I don't know. I just...
Yeah.
There's
a lot in that vlog.
There was a lot. There was a lot of running in that vlog. But I think that's kind of what I am realizing is it's not just physically for me to lose weight, but it's like a mental thing for me too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and it helps me just think, and I talked about that in the vlog actually, but I just talked about how it helps me have clarity. And so when I'm overwhelmed by stuff, if I just stop and go for a run, I just feel so much better. But also our Disneyland trip's coming up too. And I have like goals I want to be at, like my weight and things like that before that Disney trip. And then I have another, like goal before our Disney cruise. I always have like, vacations as like my benchmarks. Yeah. With that all being said, like I feel good. I'm at a weight that I haven't been at for a long time. Been losing weight, really good stuff, like all that. But it's just, I think this whole dairy situation, I got to figure out because this slows me down. Yeah, I think
we need to figure out for some time. Like there's obviously something going on. And I think it's going to make a difference in like everything in your health.
Yeah. So
what you eat is so big.
Lacey gave me like an ultimatum. She's like, okay, look, like I'll give you a week, like try to figure this out or go to the doctor. And I'm like, okay, I understand. Maybe I should just go to the doctor. But I'm like, I think I might know. I really do. Because you know how sometimes So I'm just going to like limit myself with those different things and just see how I feel.
Well, I just got done with your excuses. The first one's always, I'm just not drinking enough water. I'm like, no, you're fine with your water. No, I think you're like, I'm just tired. I'm like, you're not tired. You need to figure out what's going on with your body.
It's been a crazy weekend.
I don't know anybody else out there. You're like the type that one of your friends is like that too. They're just like, I do not want to go to the doctor. I will not go to the doctor. I'm like, just go to the doctor and see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not like that. I'll go to the doctor, but I'm like, I have a feeling I know what it is.
Okay.
So just give me a week.
All right.
Give me 7 days. We'll talk about it next Monday. See how it goes. See if I can find the problem.
Okay.
That's it.
Sounds good. We'll look forward for the update.
I do need to drink more water, so that could be.
Don't we all?
That could be it.
But other things going on in the Zachman household. Tucker started gymnastics this last week.
Yep.
And Lil Juniper took a class as well. One and done, though, that's for sure. So Tucker's been wanting to get into gymnastics, and he tried out for like a beginner's gymnastic, like boys beginner class, and he passed it. And so they had him try out for the advanced boys gymnastics class, and he made it in there. First night, he even got like this little blue ribbon with his headstands, which is crazy because
that kid can do like 25-minute headstands.
It is nuts. If you want to see it, you can watch our vlog that came out on Tuesday. I showed a clip of it. He is just so funny. So he's so excited about that. That's like something we've been talking about with him because Landon, we've shown in our vlogs, he's very into football and that's like his thing. So we've been trying to figure out, what Tucker wants to get into. So he is very like just confident in this and excited about it. So anyways, there's another class that was going on during Tucker's for like little tots. It's like a 2 and 3 year old class. And they had an opening for like a tryout, just to like a free trial. So I'm like, hey, I'll see how Junie does in this. Cause then, I'm there, might as well have her do something. It was quite the show. Let's just say that. But it was funny because I was talking to the coach and she said, in this class, I only have 1 student. And so it'll be nice to have 2. And that other child didn't show up, so it was just Junie. So it was hilarious. There was like other parents sitting next to me, and they were just like busting up laughing because she was just having the time of her life in there. And they have like these big foam pits, and she's just jumping in and laughing. And Like she helped her walk across the little beam and try to have her like hold these bars, but Junie's just like running like zigzag. And I told their coach afterwards, I was like, are you exhausted? She's like, no, I'm used to this. Like, I'm like, okay, good. And then she's like, but we've got other classes, maybe it'd be good for like a mom and me class. And I'm like, okay. She's like, I think she'd be good if other kids were in here, but it was
That's
just
her way of like, hey,
she's
I
not
don't
quite
really
ready.
want her back.
So it was so funny because at one point I could see Tucker and he's like looking over and he like sees Junie and she's just like, wow.
Well, she's like in the foam
loving
pit,
life.
just like laying, like screaming,
laughing.
loving life, and I guess all the you're saying all the parents were like laughing at her because she was just like, she was just having a time of her life.
She just had like one-on-one attention in like a playland. I mean, there's things to jump off of and balance on and trampolines. And so she put on the Juniper show for everybody for 40 minutes. It was very entertaining.
The Juniper show. It's a thing.
But that's what's up with those two. And then Landon, he's done with football. His birthday's coming up, though. He's going to be turning 9. So we're trying to make some plans for that. And we found out about this new thing where it's like a gaming trailer.
Well, it's not new. I mean, it's been
I've
around for
never
a long
heard
time.
of it.
Yeah,
okay.
I've seen them. I mean,
You've seen them? Okay.
Yeah.
But they come to your house
mm-hmm.
and you can rent it out, and it's got like PlayStation, Nintendo. You can pick your games and you can like set up so everybody can play at the same time. So we're looking into doing that for him possibly. It looks pretty cool. So it's nice that they
you can go inside this big trailer and there's just all the game stuff, and so we thought we would just invite all of his friends over and make like little like snacks, like chips and like little gamer snacks. And then they just literally go in a trailer in the front of our house
and they'll play games
just
together.
Play for 2 hours and hang out. They have like VR and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's cool because they can. I think it said it fit up to like 30 people in there. So I was like, "Oh, that's crazy!"
Yeah,
so all we play at the same time. Yeah.
But he seemed really excited about it, and it's hard because like he loves to play football, and the last year or two, we would just go to the park and play football with his friends. But you just never know with the weather in November. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard to find like an indoor soccer field here because they're all like booked out because it's cold.
We've been trying to find that. I know.
I think this is like the next best thing. Yeah. Because like all his friends can just hang out and just game for a couple hours.
Yeah. I suggested, I was like, hey, I know your dad has connections with an indoor tent area that has turf because our church is meeting on a tent, but there's just like poles and stuff. So I'm like, it might be kind of difficult because I know he just loves playing football with his friends, but it's just like you said, it just gets cold and windy and stuff. So, but speaking of tents, that's something you were doing this weekend as well.
Our church is meeting on our church property because we're in construction of our building. I mean, most of you probably know that, but in case you don't, get you up to speed. So we've been meeting in tents for the whole summer, and we've been growing. So we had to get a new tent for our children's ministry. So we had to just winterize the whole area this last weekend. You were out there like all day Saturday. Yeah, I was out there all day. We had to bring in like heaters and stuff. And it was cool because on Sunday, it was the first time using the heaters and they worked really good. But it's going to be just kind of a crazy season because we're kind of like on like that, 24/7 watch, because if there's high winds or if there's snow or something like that, we have to kind of secure the tent and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be kind of interesting season, but it's really cool at the same time. Like every Sunday, it is just so cool to see people. Like it's like almost like the valley is getting to know that we're intense because there was like people coming in the parking lot and they're like, oh my gosh, we made it, we found it, we've been hearing about the tent.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's just like, oh cool, where are you from? And they're just like, oh, we're from here or wherever. And so it's been cool to see how people are coming and enjoying it. And it's been every Sunday, it's so much fun. Like it's completely different.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously we can't wait to be in our building.
Yeah.
But this is going to be one of those moments we'll look back on and be like, man, remember those days? Those days were so awesome or whatever. But I think just like seeing the community come together and put this on and all the work and just seeing people come and with all their giftings and their like, their knowledge base coming together for a common goal is there's nothing like it.
I was thinking that on Sunday because I didn't go to church on Sunday. I wasn't feeling very well, so I watched it from home and we live stream it. And so I was watching. I'm like, this is so crazy. Like to watch this later you know, a couple years down the road when we're actually in our building to see where we're at and meeting in tents. And it was funny. The boys stayed home with me too. And they were like, oh man, we're going to miss seeing the new tent. So they were so bummed. And Justin's like, well, you'll see it all winter.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of it.
But they can't wait to go to church cool. In the tent. So, but yeah, it's good. And then while Justin was putting up tents and working on the property, getting everything ready, I had like a women's event that day. And then I was putting together furniture. I felt like all weekend. I feel like I spent 8 hours probably if I totaled it up. But the boys got new beds. We talked about our whole carpet saga last week on the podcast, but we sold their bunk beds. They both have twin beds, so I put those together. I ended up doing one on Friday night and got done at like 11:30 at night. And I was like, okay, Tucker, your bed will be done the next day. So I worked on their drawers. But yeah, so that was a lot. Yeah, I was like, why is my body aching? And I'm like, oh yeah, probably from putting together all the furniture.
I think our last podcast, we're like, oh yeah, this next week is going to be that week where we're going to be able to like kind of reset from getting back from Seattle.
Did we say that?
We said that.
Oh, those
And
fools.
I'm like, I think that was just the beginning of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like just because on that night, what was it, Friday night?
That I put together.
Because
you were working late that night too.
I had to work late and get some videos done for some clients. It was just that was the week.
And we didn't get ours finished either, so it was just
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was editing videos and
till like 12:30.
Yeah, but I assumed that Lacey was still up putting furniture because you made like a dessert.
I did.
And I was like really looking forward to the dessert. And so in my brain, and this is the thing, you never assume you assure, right? But in my brain, I was like thinking like, well, she'll for sure text me when the dessert's done so I can take a break and eat some dessert and just kind of hang out for a little bit and go back in the studio. Because I knew the boys were staying up late because their beds were getting put together and it was just one of those nights. And I didn't hear anything and it was just like, midnight came around. I'm like, there's no way, like the dessert's not done. Like, there's no way. And because I didn't know what time you started it. Obviously, the boys weren't gonna stay up till midnight. But
yeah,
I didn't know what happened. I just didn't know what was going on. So I walked in there, and it was just like a ghost town. Like, kid you not, the dessert was still like on the stove. Like there was plates of the dessert half eaten. I'm like, where are they? Like it was like straight out of a horror movie. I'm like, is everyone okay? I'm like checking the rooms and everyone just passed out.
Yeah.
Like the bed is like half done. There's a mattress on the ground and Lacey's passed out in the bed.
I mean, not everything on there, but it
was just like
it was
Tucker and Landon were
asleep.
Junie was asleep. Lacey was asleep. And I'm like, what happened? And so the next morning, I'm like, what went down?
Yeah.
And Lacey's like, I don't know. We just hit this weird wall.
Well, it was bad because, I mean, the boys were up pretty late and we were just watching we were watching Inside Out 2 in their room while I was finishing the bed. And then I was like, okay, let's do our dessert. And then everybody was just so tired. We all just were like, we're done. Tucker started crying because he's like, well, what about my bed? And then Landon was mad at him. And then I was irritated because I'm like, my back's killing me from doing this bed. We just all were like, okay, we're done. Let's eat our dessert and go to bed. And that's literally what happened. And they just fell asleep. I think Tucker fell asleep in his seat, knowing Tucker, because he just falls asleep wherever. So I carried him to bed like after he ate his dessert. So it was just one of those things.
You just hit one of those
and I'm sorry,
walls of no return.
I did not even say anything to you because I did not have the energy.
Well, because I was like in the groove of editing and stuff, and so I lost track of time. Like I was just going for it.
Yeah.
And like what seems to be like 30 minutes turned into like 2 hours basically. And that's what happens when you get in the groove, And so I looked up at the clock. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's crazy late. And I'm like, wait a second, is the dessert not done? It was just like this whole thing. So I finished up, locked the door, came in there, and yeah, it was just, that's what it was.
Yeah. And it was my fault. I was like, why did I say this dumb dessert? Because it was Friday night and I told Landon after school, like, what we're going to do. And I think it's Thursday night he asked for something. I was like, well, Friday night I have a dessert I'll make. And then we ended up getting home late because my dad was here in town. We went to my sister's and he's like, Mom, you going to make that dessert? I was like, oh, crap. So I had to make this. It was really easy, but it was just one of those things where I'm like, okay. I did say I was going to do that.
Well, it was just our kids, their bedtime's like around 8:30. And so we already got home around like 9:30.
Yeah.
And then we had the great idea of like, oh, they can stay up a little bit later while you work on the beds.
Because I had the dumb idea of starting their bed before we left. That was the mistake.
Yeah,
I should not have done that.
I said it was the mistake. When I got
I'm
to,
not disagreeing on
when
that,
I heard that, I was
Justin.
like, wait, you started the beds on Friday? Why don't we just wait till like
because you know
Monday
me. I don't
or Sunday?
I don't have patience for that. I'm like, let's just get this done. Come on.
Yeah, well, then
That's what happened.
that's what happened.
I know.
So
That was my repercussion, but
anyway, the bed's done. The boys are loving their new beds.
yes.
And we have our carpet has been awesome. We have not spilt anything on the carpet yet.
Knock on wood right now, please.
Just did. So we're rocking and rolling.
So what you're saying is this week will be a little bit more of a reset and down week?
Yes. I honestly
Maybe?
like hope so. Like I don't see any big things. There are a couple things
Yeah.
that are happening, but like nothing like this last week. It's just not, when you have those weeks, it's not sustainable. Like there's just seasons where it is like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like maybe 4 to 6 times a year that happens to us, where we have like these moments where it's like not sustainable and we have to just like push through. And I feel like that was definitely one of them for sure. So I am definitely ready for more of a chill kind of week, kind of reset, catch up on some things that we're behind on, all that kind of stuff.
We got a lot done though. You winterized our whole backyard yesterday too.
I don't know why I did that.
Because it needed done.
I know, but it's just like I winterized our whole church property, and the next day, I winterized it. I'm like, but I'm glad it looks good. I'm glad it was done.
Yes,
but
I'm
it's
very
just
thankful you did it.
Yeah, this week we definitely gotta catch up on other things too.
But tonight we're really excited. We told the boys they got pumpkins, so we're gonna carve pumpkins and hang out, watch a movie, and just keep it chill tonight at home.
We're gonna go get like a
I was
pizza.
gonna say we were gonna order pizza, but should you have the cheese?
Oh man, I just thinking about that. I honestly don't think pizza does it for me.
Okay, sure.
I don't know.
We'll see. You're like, I'm starting tomorrow, I swear.
Well, they have the reason why we said that is because they have like it's like a tradition. Like whenever we carve pumpkins, we also go and get like this like
at Papa Murphy's, they have like the pumpkin pizza,
the pumpkin shaped pizza.
Yeah,
and so we're like,
it's got the little
like a
pepperoni
tradition,
eyes and the olive smile.
Maybe I'll just have a salad or something and just stare at your pizza.
Okay, so that's the plan, and we're gonna watch Haunted Mansion, the Muppets version.
Muppets version.
Yes, because there's like 3 versions, and I'm like, because Justin's
well,
like, let's watch Eddie Murphy,
the newer one.
Yep,
and
the Muppets. So the boys love the Muppets one, and it's hilarious. So that's the plan tonight.
I think the other ones are too scary for them.
I do too. Yeah, I know. They'd
They
be really
me.
freaked
I'm
out.
just
I was
like,
gonna say,
bro, I
was like, because at first you're like, let's do the Haunted Mansion. I'm like, with Eddie Murphy, you're like, yeah. I'm like, there's some scary stuff, and they're like, well, let's do the new one. I'm like, that one's even scarier. Like, how about the Muppets? I'm like, sold. We'll do that.
Let's do the Muppets. So as far as this week goes, I think
Mm-hmm.
one thing for me is just I need to find like more rest. Like I think mentally, spiritually, physically, all that kind of stuff, a good reset, but just the importance of having like rest days. And that's really hard for me because when I get guilty. I don't know if you guys have the same thing, but when I have time for rest, I get guilty. Sometimes I get guilty when I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, when I know people are trying to reach me.
Yeah.
Like ultimately there's times like business hours where I need to be available, but like after that, sometimes I get guilty of like, oh, this person needs an answer or whatever. And so just being able to put my phone down and be okay with that and having those moments of resting, if that's like from like the phone or work or whatever the case may be, but just really trying to find moments to rest in. I think that's going to really help me this week because it has been such a crazy week.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to. And I have to just force myself to do that. Like rest isn't just going to come. It's going to be a thing where I'm going to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Definitely.
So, cause even like with, I mean, I feel like we have a good balance. I really do. Like with our family, with work, with business, all that kind of stuff. And it's a great balance, but I think for just me having time to like get away from myself, to have that moment of just clearing my mind, going for a run, those kind of things is lacking. And I'm not trying to be like, I feel like, saying that I feel selfish for even saying that. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is, because
But
it's really not. And you really,
I know.
I
But
really, honestly, after we get done with this podcast, I was gonna tell Justin off air, but I'll tell you now. I'm like, you should just go lay down, because you just need some rest.
yeah.
And like me and Cassidy can kind of finish up work things today.
Well, I mean, I feel okay, but it's just,
So-
you know, but that is the thing, is like
You
there's
should
just
really do that though.
I feel like I'm being selfish, or feel like I'm guilt trip myself in a weird way, where I'm like, oh, I should be working, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing more. Like, for example, yesterday, I probably should have just chilled, but I felt like I needed to winterize the backyard. You know, it's like that should have been a day. If I would have just like sat there and just rested that whole day, I probably would have been feeling a lot better today.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It like snowballs.
Right. And that's why, like,
Rather than just taking a time and just resting. And
yeah. And I said that because Saturday I was going, and I haven't been feeling great. And I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that and gone, but I did because I had an event. But then yesterday I was like, I'm going to stay home from church and just rest. And I was like, I'm so glad I did, because I'm starting to feel better.
Well, you're on the verge. You were
and I was on the
sick.
verge of getting
Like, you
sick
were-
too.
your
But
throat
even though
was-
your like health's not great either, but you just, I think it always pays off when you do just take those times.
Because right now I feel okay, you know, but if I don't just take some time, like today, I'm like, okay, let's get done with work at a certain time.
Yeah.
And just, you know, hang out with the boys, and just having like that moment where like work's put away, phone's on do not disturb, like it's just that moment.
Right.
Have a restful evening and go to bed early. Sounds really nice right now.
Yeah.
And I think I'll be fine tomorrow. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's what it is, but I just need to take a little time. And maybe even before we do that, I just like go for like a walk with the dog or something like that for me, just to kind of
Something
clear my
quiet,
head
yeah.
and just, not that there's anything I'm like worried about or overwhelmed with or whatever. It's just been a lot. So just to kind of recover and breathe
Yeah.
a couple times,
Yeah.
you know, but it's just so, I don't know if you're the same way.
Yeah. Is that hard for you guys? Like, do
Oh,
you feel
man.
guilty when you take time to rest? Like, let us know. What are some ways you guys have gotten past that down below? Because I just feel like that's something a lot of people struggle with. I think also with kids too, it's so hard to find those windows of resting, because our house is never quiet. Truly.
Well, yeah, it's just, it never
So-
is. There's never a quiet, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. But you just need to get in a quiet spot
Yeah.
and just be alone with
Right.
your thoughts.
Yeah.
To go for a prayer walk or just something where you can just kind of like just
Decompress
chill.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think what happens is when, you know, because I think we're productive people, and I think if you're productive, the cons of that though is you can get there's no off switch. Because when there is a time when you're sitting down and resting, you're like, I should be doing something else. I should be doing that. I should be hustling. I should be you know, and it's just like that doesn't turn off ever in my head. So I have to almost like force myself. How do I put do not disturb on in my head? You know what I mean? Like, how do I just like, okay, I have to recoup here.
Yeah.
So then I can be more productive, you know?
Right.
That's the thing I'm really trying to just figure out. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any answers to that? Do you guys feel that as well? What works for you? Like, what works for you to just have some time to like reset? And I'm not talking about a whole week or a whole day. I'm talking about maybe just an hour. Like, what are things you do for like an hour just to reset? Maybe it is just going for more runs. That really clearly helps me. But maybe something that's not so physical either. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I mean, for me, my bath. I'm like, I'm gonna go take a bath. Like, that's my
Yeah,
time.
I
I
hate
love
baths.
it.
You'll never see me in a bath, which you don't want to see me in a bath.
Or I love going to Perspire. It's like a place that has like saunas, because I need that heat, especially in the winter
that's
and the
nice,
light and the
actually.
sun.
I do like that.
Because I really do struggle with seasonal depression. I just can't. I have to have some sun.
And it's cool because you
So,
can't have your phone in there either. So it's just like this like 45-minute like
yeah.
box of everything
Yeah.
in the outside world locked down, you know?
Or I'll go for a drive. Like, as long as I'm alone, I can just go to Target or Kohl's or just do stuff like that. And it feels so refreshing to me.
Yeah.
Those are just a few things I love to do. Those are a few of my favorite things.
But I think this week, that is one of my goals is like, just continuing to like be healthy with like eating correctly and working out and all those kind of things. But also like remembering to take care of like myself and to have moments where I can just reset and just, even for like 30 minutes, an hour,
Yeah.
whatever, not to feel like I have to be on the grind all the time,
Right.
you know? So anyway,
And don't feel guilty about it.
I know that's the problem. That's what I'm trying to work through, is not to be guilty over it, because I know I'm never going to be a sloth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what I'm always like, oh, I'm being so lazy right now when I'm like watching a TV show.
But here's the thing. Think about it this way. When you take hold of like your finances, and we've had like our designated money for things, and it's like, this is my spending cash, so I don't feel guilty spending this money because it's my money I've set aside to spend on whatever. You know what I mean? And we finally did that, and it felt so good. If you do that with your schedule, with your rest time, be like, this is my designated rest time.
I know.
Then maybe that would help your brain, because I feel like you're like that type where you're like, I've set aside this time, I'm gonna rest. And
Maybe that's
then
the
it's
answer.
not a thing where it's like, oh crap, like I should be doing this and this. I'm like, no, I've already set aside this time to rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe
So
I need to
maybe
make rest appointments
Yeah.
once in a while.
Schedule your rest. As an adult, there's
I
a
know-
lot of things you got to schedule.
I know that may sound weird to some of you guys.
Wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. And it just, I guess it depends. I mean, if you know, you know. Like, if you know, like, when your life is just this way and it's kind of chaotic, and it's also, I guess what it is too, it's our life isn't structured. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think if you had like a 9-to-5 job, you know, you get off at a
Yeah.
certain time, you have your routines, your rhythms.
Ours is very
Every
much not like
single
that.
day is different. And we're talking about like night and day different.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so hard for me to like have times of rest, is because I don't have like a
Very
rhythm.
set schedule or
Yeah.
rhythm. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
I got to figure out how to have a rhythm in the midst of this.
Yeah, and we're in
So.
a building project too, which on top of that, it's just nuts. And you're learning so much right now of things that are not,
Yeah,
you
it's
know what I
not-
mean?
yeah,
That
it's
it's
true.
not actually your job description.
Right. And so then
Yeah.
I'm just learning
Learning
a ton.
so
and
much.
That's always kind of overwhelming
Codes
in a good
and
way.
stuff, yeah.
But it
Mhm.
still is. It's just a lot of
Yeah.
brain power. So
Anyways, I was gonna end it on. I just wanted to share with you guys one more thing. What I'm doing this week is I'm teaching for our women. We have like a women's Bible fellowship, and I'm really excited about it. I started going through, just kind of making some notes yesterday, because we're going through the women of the Bible, and I'm sharing on Rachel and Leah. So if you guys don't know the story, I really encourage you to read it, because I've read it before, I know it, but reading it yesterday, I was like, this is such a crazy story. So it's in Genesis 29 and 30, but it's like the first biblical recorded story of a love triangle. You know what I mean? So it's like you have all these stories of love triangles. I'm like, this is the first one, truly. So it's about Jacob, and he like goes.
is it because you just watched like Hallmark
Yeah,
movies all
I know.
day
I was like,
yesterday?
this is so. But here's the thing: I've taught like Old Testament through New Testament, because I taught at a Christian school. I love it so much, but it was to kids. So now I actually get to go deeper into subjects, because this story is very PG-13. Like, Jacob has sex with 4 different women in this story.
Yeah,
4
it's
different women.
nuts.
It's crazy. I'm like, then he went into her. That's how the Bible says it, into her. I'm like, oh my gosh. So
How many went into
How many-
hers? Did
Jacob
What?
do? And these women are okay with it, and they're like, hey, I can have a baby. Use my handmaid. You know, I mean, the Bible is crazy. So if you ever think it's boring,
I was gonna be like, hey,
read
this is
the
a
Old
I was
Testament.
gonna be like, this is a family YouTube channel, but I'm like, wait a second, this is the Bible, so all right.
It is the Bible. And so anyways, I encourage you to read it. I think you'd be interested in it, because it's just a fascinating story. But Jacob, just to summarize it quickly, he falls in love, and it says in the story too, it's just like he sees Rachel, and he just loves her. And so her father's like, okay, you can have Rachel, but you have to work for me 7 years. And it said in the Bible, like, the 7 years were like to him as one day or 1 week, because he just loved her
Yeah,
so
total
much.
Hallmark Christmas movie.
I was just like, this is
right there.
beautiful. But anyways, after 7
As I
years,
look into your eyes. Well, what was it? Leah's eyes that were like.
Leah had the Bible says to it, as they were like tender, or they were, I forget the other adjectives describing it. But it's actually a really beautiful story, and there's so much lessons in it. And I think that's why I'm having so much fun, like diving deeper into it, because when you teach it to kids, you can't talk about a lot of the stuff that happened, let's be honest. But
He went into
basically,
her,
he
he
went into
went into
her.
her.
Then they had sex. Okay. But anyways, so Jacob worked for 7 years, and Laban, the father of Rachel, tricked him and said, you could have Rachel, but instead he gave him Leah, the older daughter, because it was a custom back then that you'd marry off the older daughter first. Leah was not as good looking and had the weak eyes. And he's like, hey, what's up? Like this, after he had sex with her, he apparently didn't recognize her because in the Bible they already slept together. Then the next day it says he recognized that it's not her. But anyway, so he works another, I forget how many years to get Rachel. So now he has 2 wives, which another thing that was part of their culture. But anyways, the part of the story was just like the hearts between Rachel and Leah. Because if you read onto it, you can see that Rachel wasn't able to bear children, but Leah was. But Jacob loved Rachel. And so Leah was always jealous of, that part because she knew that Jacob loved, her sister. But then Rachel was jealous of Leah because Leah could have the babies. And that was a huge, huge thing back then to bring, their offspring. Like I'm kind of sharing about like the hearts of them, like not being content and like having that competitive heart of always wanting what the other one has. And I think that's such a relatable story. That's what I love about the Bible. Like as crazy of a story it is, I'm like, you can always learn like really good lessons from it. And then in the end, there's a verse where it talks about how God like sees Rachel. And like what that meant is he's just like, he sees like the desire of her heart, which was to have a baby. And so he opened her womb and she was able to have Joseph, which one of your favorite Bible stories, Joseph and the coat of many colors.
Actually, Landon's middle name is Joseph because of that story.
Yeah. But it was definitely after a lot because Rachel ended up having a lot of babies and then, Leah had a lot of babies and then Rachel wanted to have a baby so bad with Jacob that she said, use my handmaid and like have a baby through my handmaid, and there was just a lot they went through till she finally, it kind of seems like got to the point where she was like content and then the Lord saw her heart and gave her the desire. So it's a really crazy, beautiful story, but I'm like so excited to like be able to dig in deeper into the Bible now that I get to like teach. Like I've taught the women before, but not teach the story like I've had to kids. And I don't know, I just got like really excited because I love history and I was like writing down all the notes of how many, because he ended up having 12 children between Rachel and Leah and their handmaids, which later become the 12 tribes of Judah.
But not to mention that, but also just like the Old Testament has so much application in it.
So much, yeah.
Like I just taught on the 4 lepers and that's in
Kings, right?
2 Kings.
And oh my gosh, this is like a really gruesome story too. Like what you shared, I was like, oh my gosh, Justin, you're going to share all of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's cannibalism in it. They're under siege. There was like no food, so they ended up eating like their own.
Infants.
And
it's
it's crazy story, but the application on it is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I mean, like some of this stuff, you're like, oh, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you look into our world now, and it's, it's. You can look at that Old Testament and be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But you look in our world and the things that our world is into and the things that the world is doing and accepting and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, it's not, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's literally the same, if not probably worse.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
You know those movies you watched as a kid and you watched them all the time. And then when you got older, you watch them and you're like, oh, now I get what they meant by that. Like I felt like that as a kid with like some things like
the Old Testament or something.
No, just movies. Yeah, but then I felt like that with the Old Testament because I remember hearing all of these stories because I grew up in church. But then you read them as adults and you're like, wow, okay, this makes sense now. I was like, didn't know all of this happened, but I feel like that part of the Bible too. As an adult, you're just kind of like, at least if you grew up with it as a kid, you just make those connections. But anyways, so that's what I'm teaching on for this Wednesday. I don't have all my notes together, but I was excited, like kind of getting started on it with just like the hearts of Rachel and Leah. And just kind of, I think my theme's going to be more like contentment and like a competitive heart is kind of the topic. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. I mean, the Apostle Paul said he learned to be content.
Yeah, it's something you really have to learn.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, Dave Ramsey says the best wealth building tool is the power of contentment. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of application in learning to be content.
Yeah, there's.
And also not to be competitive with your neighbor, and just stay in your zone be content in what God has given you. Learn that, and
Yeah.
you're going to be so much more happier
Right.
in life.
Well, in such
It's
world,
such a drag to just like compare yourselves.
right? And the
to
world we live in
other
today,
people.
where it's in your face all the time with social
100%.
media and whatnot. But I don't know. I just think of their story, and I know it's a different culture back then. I'm like, what a hard thing to do, to like see your sister, you know, and your husband, and he loves her more, or see the other sister like, oh, he's having babies with her and I can't have babies. You know, that would be such a hard thing to like
Yeah.
truly find contentment in.
Oh
So,
yeah, I mean it's
as a woman's heart, I could just, you know, it's just like that
Yeah.
would be really hard.
But I think one of the best ways to be content, one of the best ways to rest, is just be diligent about being in the Word. Like honestly, like it's interesting that you're reading in Genesis, because I'm about to hit that same chapter
Oh, are you?
in my own Bible reading. So I'm going through the whole Bible over again.
Sorry, I spoiled the whole story for you.
It's a bummer, but
Spoilers.
I just know like the only way for me to be content, and the only way for me to just feel at peace and all of that, and not to be like comparing my life or whatever, is simply from being in the Word. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much peace that overwhelms me.
It truly is.
When I'm just reading the Word. And like reading crazy Old Testament stories and seeing the application that comes out of it.
Yeah.
Or the New Testament. Like I think I've shared, but I'm going through the Bible all over again, and I have like the Bible app. It's just YouVersion, but it's the 1 year Bible. Like basically, essentially, what it is, and we have like the 1 year Bible like paperback, which is I think just an amazing way to read through the whole Bible. But this is cool because I just listen to audio. So when I'm driving my car, it's like my podcast. But you get Old Testament, New Testament, Proverbs, and Psalm every single day. Mm-hmm. It's just a really good, like, well-rounded meal, if you will. It's easier said than done with not comparing or being content and all of those kind of things. But I just know if you're in a place where you don't have contentment, or you feel overwhelmed, or you feel just like anxious and just, just turn to the Word.
Mm-hmm.
Like have go for a prayer walk. That's why I'm just saying, like, I'm just thinking like me for resting, it may just mean me just going for a drive and just praying. It's like a tripod, right? It's like, physically, spiritually, and mentally. If one of those off, all of them are off. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like I feel run down a little bit. It's probably because like physically I need some rest. Like honestly, it's been a crazy couple weeks, and so everything else feels kind of run down.
But yeah, I just love this, and I think the study we're doing is so great because we're just seeing how relatable like the women are, people are in the Bible, because we all struggle with being discontent. We all struggle with, there's just so many people in the Bible of stories where like I'm there now, or I've been there, and so it just makes you feel like you're not alone. If you just need to just take that time just to reset. I know whenever I just feel that way and I get in my word or prayer, I'm like, okay, wow. Like it just gives me a whole new perspective. And that's why I need to be in it every day.
Well, I mean, if you're struggling with like not having peace, and you're just overwhelmed, have anxiety, you're worried, like all that kind of stuff, just turn to the Bible. Like just read it, take some time, go for a prayer walk. The Bible is living, it's powerful. It just is. And that's all you need. We turn to other things to try to distract us. Yeah. Like we go to, I'll just do this, or I'll go here. But just, I have to remind myself all the time, like, oh, that's not going to work. I need to just go pray. I need to just read my Bible.
Yeah. Or something I like to do. Told my friend this a little bit ago too, because she was like really struggling with a different emotion, like anger. And I'm just like, tell the Lord how you feel. Like he knows you, he created you. He knows those emotions. So tell him how you feel. And I just feel like that just kind of opens that like gate to just that relationship. And that's what it is. It's not a religion to us. It's a relationship.
Well, it's like
with
David.
Jesus, so.
That's why I love the Psalms, because David's just like, God, where are you?
I feel so alone.
Life sucks. I hate everything. And then at the end of it, because he's going to the Lord with it, he's like, oh yeah, you know what? You are my strong tower.
You're my refuge. Yeah,
we're
my
good.
Strength.
And I think that's what happens. We get so overwhelmed for literally no reason. I mean, there's reasons.
Right.
But then all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait, God is bigger, and my problems then become smaller. But what happens beforehand is our problems are bigger and our God is small. Yeah. And so you have to reverse that by going and praying and getting in your word.
Yeah.
So
So something I love doing when I pray is like, we have this group, Mom's Prayer, and we always start with just praising the Lord and who he is and his attributes.
Yeah.
Because when you start with that, you're like, wow, there's nothing he can't handle, you know?
Yep.
So it's good to start off that way. But anyways, let's wrap this guy up.
I feel better.
Thank you guys.
I actually, honestly, feel completely 100% better.
No, you don't.
That is the rest I needed.
You just needed to talk to everybody.
No, you know me though.
But it's funny because
my rest is just talking through
you
stuff.
are, and I would be like, I'm so drained. I have to go not talk. Like I remember sending Justin and Marco about something, and then he's like, I didn't hear your Marco. What'd you say? I'm like, just listen to it. I have no other words. I'm out.
Yeah, she just like hands me her phone, and she's like, it's her Marco.
So
if you guys don't know what Marco Polo is, like a recording.
Yeah. So we're very opposite in that way.
Yeah.
But glad to hear you're feeling better.
Honestly, it's just, you gotta talk it out once in a while. That's my rest sometimes.
Well, thanks guys for helping Justin
thanks for
feel
helping me
better
rest.
today. We love you.
This is great. You guys helped me rest today. I was able to sit down on this comfortable chair. And I think we got a comment of that, actually. Someone's like, where'd you get these chairs at? We got them at Walmart.
They're from Walmart.
We didn't get to any questions today, but we got these from Walmart. Answer your question.
So anyways, we love you guys.
Love you.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.